Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be reading aloud this article from the left. You can follow along with this article by opening up your current event report, scrolling down to the research box under the article from the left. Click on that very first link, and that's the one that I'll be reading out loud. Remember, as we read, we're going to be taking 3 or more bullet points worth of notes, and this week your notes should really focus on the positives of those vaccine passports, the negatives of the vaccine passports, and then any bias that you might see in that article. All right, so remember in this video, I'm going to read aloud the article and give you some hints on what to write down for notes. Here we go, starting with the title. Vaccine passport apps could help us return to normal. First, they need to solve the trust problem. So right away in the title, they give us a pro, vaccine passport apps could help us return to normal. So we can go ahead and write that down in a note. All right, and then in the second part, they kind of allude to some negatives. First, they need to solve the trust problem. So we know there's going to be some sort of problem with trust, but I don't know if that's a trust problem about the vaccination passports, the apps, or the vaccine itself. So let's go ahead and keep reading to see what we can put down in our notes. The next time you attend a wedding or concert, visit a place of worship, eat indoors at a restaurant, or even go to work, you may need to show digital proof of vaccination or negative COVID-19 test results. On Friday, New York became the first state in the United States to roll out a vaccine verification app, often referred to as a digital vaccine passport. It's using IBM's Excelsior Pass app, which leans on the blockchain and displays a personalized QR code to verify health status. The state tested the app earlier this month at a Brooklyn Nets basketball game at the Barclays Center and a New York Rangers hockey game at Madison Square Garden. This isn't really like a pro or a con, or at least we can't really tell if it's a pro or a con from this paragraph, but it relates very closely to the current event that we're covering, vaccination passports at sports games. And it looks like New York has already used it in 2 different sports events. So we can go ahead and say vaccination passport apps used already in 2 different sporting events in New York. All right, vaccination verification apps could play a key role in helping us get back to normal. But companies behind them may first need to convince millions of Americans, scarred from years of headlines about data scandals, that these apps don't pose significant privacy risks. That's what the headline was talking about. Millions of Americans are worried about potential privacy risks. We could go ahead and write that down in our notes. Millions of Americans concerned about potential privacy risks. All right. In his announcement, Governor Andrew Cuomo specifically nodded to potential privacy concerns about the app, with the promise of keeping personal information secure. Likewise, Steve LaFlesche, general manager of IBM Public and Federal Markets, said in a statement that New York's digital passport relies on a flexible and accessible tool that places security and privacy at its core. But not everyone is convinced. Some of these everyday life apps will create a new layer of digital infrastructure that was previously anonymous, says Albert Foxconn, founder and executive director of the Surveillance Technology Oversight Project and a fellow at the New York University School of Law. You don't need that type of surveillance to pick up a quart of milk from a bodega. So we have these 2 people up here in this paragraph saying, look, don't worry, like all your privacy is going to be secure. And this guy saying like, but you shouldn't have to have that kind of surveillance just to go pick up a gallon of milk. Chief among these privacy fears is the question of whether location or medical data will be collected and stored and who will have access to that information. So this is kind of expanding on what specifically Americans are concerned about with their privacy. Is location data and medical data going to be collected? Where will it be stored? Who will have access to it? Those are the questions many Americans are asking, according to that paragraph. The companies behind these apps have said that they will not store data but the perception could nonetheless dissuade some Americans from embracing these apps. User trust is paramount in order for digital smart health cards to be successful in empowering individuals to demonstrate their vaccination status as society reopens, said Dr. Brian Anderson, Chief Digital Health Physician at non-for-profit MITRE, which manages federally funded research and development centers, and co-founder of the Vaccination Credential Initiative. That's why it's imperative that companies are open and transparent in regards to their privacy policies so that individuals can make an informed decision about who they want to share their vaccination information with. Silicon Valley has tried its hand at tech solutions to help address the public health crisis, including exposure notification apps that would help stop the spread of COVID-19. But those efforts mostly fell short on their promise. Now, digital health passes could be a way for tech companies to make a meaningful impact on the U.S. reopening. However, these products must confront a number of concerns, including potential counterfeit vaccine cards, the digital divide, and perhaps most immediately, consumer distrust and shifting norms about how technology companies handle personal data. So they kind of cover a lot of cons right here at the end, saying that tech companies who are making these apps will have to figure out how to deal with counterfeit passes, so like fake vaccination cards, distrust, and what was the last one? The digital divide, so not everyone having a digital device. Apple, for example, is currently rolling out push notifications to be more transparent with users about which data will be collected about them before they download any app. Other tech giants, such as Facebook, continue to introduce tools to earn back consumer trust following a series of data scandals and security breaches. Privacy concerns have emerged in other countries where digital passport apps have been introduced. Israel's government-validated vaccine certificate program is under scrutiny, not only for draining smartphone performance and memory, but for being a closed source program, so it's unclear where some of the data may be going. Similarly, Singapore faced backlash earlier this year after stating law enforcement had access to personal data collected from contract tracing apps for criminal investigations, despite earlier privacy assurances. So we have two different countries who have used this, and now they're kind of facing backlash due to their lack of transparency about how that data was collected and used. We can say used in two different countries, issues about issues about transparency with the data collected, how it was used. So we had Israel. It's unclear where that data is being stored and what data is being collected. And in Singapore, they were like, don't worry, we're not going to use this data and give it to police for criminal investigation. And they were like, haha, just kidding, actually we are. The Vaccination Credential Initiative, which includes IBM, Microsoft, Salesforce, Oracle, Mayo Clinic, and the Commons Project, which is a non-for-profit with a vaccination passport app currently working with some airlines, is playing a key role in developing U.S. standards and guidelines for digital health passes, including its approach to data privacy. Anderson said its specifications should be set in the next few weeks. None of the data would be stored on a central server ever. There would be a validation step to ensure that, said Anderson. Data would also never be aggregated, so an issuer wouldn't know if a person went to this restaurant or that restaurant. It wouldn't be able to sell movement or data to destinations either. That would be wholly inappropriate. Eric Pincey, sorry, Eric, mispronounced your last name, project lead for the Digital Pass app at IBM, emphasized to CNN Business the company will not keep user medical information on its platform and does not track location. From an individual's perspective, IBM Digital Health Pass puts them in control, allowing them to store, manage, and authorize sharing of their health status from their mobile phones with designed recipients in a secure manner without exposing the underlying data used to generate it, he said in an interview before the launch. But Khan said he's generally underwhelmed by some of the outlined privacy policies, noting New York State's page for the Digital Health Pass app raises far more questions than it answers, such as only linking out to the statewide IT standards page and not stating whether data could be used by law enforcement.